Presented by AfterBuzz TV and hosted by Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman, this is X-Pac 12360. And now your host, WWE Hall of Fame superstar Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360. Feels weird to be back.
It's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, ages. Seems like ages.
Time works differently in here. Feels weird.
Yeah. Well, I'm like really, I don't know, calm, mellow. I don't know, like maybe all those things. I don't know. I feel kind of low energy. I'll fucking get it going a little bit more here.
We need your song, the one that you like that really pumps you up.
Oh, yeah, Benny Hill. The Benny Hill music gets me, always puts a smile on my face.
You can always use the Benny Hill music.
Yeah. So, yeah. Good to be back. Yeah. What's been going on?
Well, I've been missing the show, to be honest. It felt really weird. And when I came in here, the first thing I did was tell Jeff, who's behind the scenes, and I was like, dude, it's been 2 weeks. And he was like, it's been 2 weeks. And I was like, yes, it's been 2 weeks. Honestly, that's pretty much what's been going on.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the watch along?
I did. I really did. It was so much fun. I had a great time. Thank you for that, by the way. And I've just been like posting pictures, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get super annoying on social media if I keep posting the same things over and over. But some people like that, so I was like, okay, I'll get annoyed after a while. So I'm gonna take a break and pause and not post so many pictures.
Enjoy it to the fullest.
Yeah.
Post everything that you wish to post. And if anyone's got a problem with it,
Yeah.
welcome.
No, but it was honestly, it was like an awesome opportunity. Like, just
You did great. Everyone thought you did great, and I wasn't really concerned, but I thought maybe some people wouldn't be happy with me over it, and that's the farthest thing from the truth. No one blamed me for anything. Because I was like, I told Paul, hey man, I hope I didn't ruffle any feathers. If I would have been a dick about it, and like, who booked this fucking shit or something like that, like, that's one thing. But I thought, it's pretty.
It was a solid, it was well reasoned for sure. Yeah.
Well, it definitely went viral. I was seeing it everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, just like the clip. But I think like from a fan's perspective though, everyone was just like, okay, well, you're saying the real thing. So you're saying how you really feel.
Yeah. That's ultimately what people want to see on something like that, is what they're really thinking.
And so I was a little concerned for everyone producing it, and like, everyone behind the scenes for the watch along, like, because I don't know how, like, if they walking on glass around, I don't know how that works for them. Like, I was concerned that maybe they would be, scared that like their show got, subversive fucking shit on it, or however you want to put it. But,
Sure.
But no, they were happy too.
Good.
Yeah. At least that's what maybe they're just telling me that. Who knows? Maybe they were really pissed and they just didn't say anything because I'm politically connected around there.
I mean, it brought eyeballs to it, if nothing else.
That's true.
Hey, so did you guys see the stuff about Brett? Like there was some show, like he was doing like a live show over in England, and anyway, so somebody tagged me in a tweet saying like Brett, was asked to be the leader of the clique. You don't know anything about this?
No,
I
I
didn't
hadn't
see
heard.
this.
All right, and I was tagged in the tweet, like, and I shouldn't even have fucking replied to it. I was like, that's not how it went. But it just like unloaded, like, because then Kev Nash chimed in, and like we started having fun with it, and even Kev was like, yeah, and Brett told me the fucking Montreal screw job was a work, and I chimed in.
Okay, I did see that. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
And then somebody says, how can this be true? And Kev says, because you're being trolled.
Right.
And so it gets back to Brett, you know, like all this, like, oh, they said the Montreal screw jobs at work, and that you're trolling everybody. That Brett's trolling everybody.
Right.
So he's like, go to hell. You know, Kevin Nash could go to hell, or I forget. I don't blame him if that was what was really said.
Right.
So, but Brett, that's not what happened. We were the ones doing the trolling, and like, so I mean, if I know it still might be a sensitive subject, but it's 25 years later.
Yeah.
You know, it's not too soon to make jokes about it.
Sure.
And that's all that was. Like, but yeah, no. And I love Brett. Brett, I love you very much and think the world of you. And sorry I even replied to that.
But that's the Twitter world, though. You reply to something, it can be misconstrued, or you say something, you say it the wrong way, and people believe stuff, and people believe what they want to believe.
And you lose so much tone through social media and so much context.
So like, there might have been another, like, maybe there was some secret meeting that I wasn't in on. But I have a memory of the conversation, and maybe, like I said, but I would never say Brett was lying or wrong or inaccurate, because every night on the road, when he got back to his room, he would talk into a tape recorder and keep an audio journal of everything. And so there's one thing you can't say is that Brett was wrong about, you know, things like that.
Right.
You know, his interpretation of something might be a different story.
Sure.
And I don't even know. I mean, maybe some other big like I said, secret fucking click meeting happened, but it wasn't like we were just guys that rode in a car together, and we decided, hey, if we stick together, you know, because really there was a clique before us, like sort of. It was like Piper, Adonis, Morocco. I'm missing somebody. Maybe I think Orton was in on it or something. And they kind of, you know, like, guys get together. They stick together.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, yeah. And Brett just he wasn't down for it. Like I don't remember us like saying we're going to control everything and only like work with each other in the top spots. But that was what he took away from it. He didn't want to be a part of that.
I think it's different when you're not the person within that circle.
Sure.
I mean, in life, that's how you feel. If you're not in with the cool kids, you're like, oh, well, they don't want me.
And it's just like, so here's the thing about like being the leader. Like, so we got egos like Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels. Paul wasn't there yet. You know, and big, strong personalities, alpha personalities, and like, so I can assure you that, like, it would never have been about, hey, you be the leader, because I'm sure those two guys probably fucking figured they were the leader, right? If there was one.
Sure.
It was never a thing. We all just we all had an equal vote on whenever we did shit.
Right.
You know, like, you know, whatever we wanted to listen to in the we call it the hose wagon. Like, so we had just enough people, especially once Hunter got there. We had just too many people that we would either have to rent 2 cars or rent like a big 15-passenger like white fucking cargo van or, you know, passenger van. Yeah. And it was, you know, we called it the hose wagon. It was just what we called it. It could have been whatever the fuck we were driving in was the hose wagon. Okay. Sometimes it was a minivan, but more often than not, it was this big, ugly-ass white van we would drive. So, yeah. Anyways.
But where are you saying that? What do you guys pick? Were you going to say the music or something?
Everything.
Or the rules?
You know, where we're going to go eat, everything.
So everything was up for a vote?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, except for, like, when we healed the hotel rooms, I would get the rollaway cot, right? I mean, I wasn't. If anyone's getting a rollaway cot, it was going to be me, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. And Mr. Perfect used to joke that you could just put me in one of the fucking drawers. Yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah. So, yeah, hey, Brett. Wish I wouldn't have responded to that tweet. Love you very much.
Well, there you go. Now we have a full clarification of that.
Clean slate.
All right. Fuck.
Do you want to?
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, fuck, that's all because of my one fucking reply to a fucking tweet. Oh well. Like, give them something to talk about during the one-man show. Whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
Everyone wants to, whatever. Fuck it. All right.
Do we want to jump into
Get
what we're
into
doing
it.
today, or did you want to add anything else? Do we have anything else?
Tell everyone what we're doing.
All right, so today we're going to go backwards a little bit, and today we're going to talk about Sean's early career in PWA and GWF, which is going to be a lot of fun. So we'll kind of dive into that and, ask you some questions about all of that, and maybe you can, really put us into that time perspective and that moment for those of us.
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff you had for the early, we'll get in a little bit of that too, but so, we don't get a... It's just a lot to talk about, and this isn't, an hour show. So.
I think the reason why one of the main portions that I wanted to discuss prior, because, nowadays for guys that, they want to make a name for themselves in wrestling, it's so easy with social media to get out there. And, the indies and all of that, they work differently. You can really put yourself out there to promote it. Yes. So that was one of the things I wanted to discuss with you, but I don't know if you want to talk about it, was kind of how, back in your day, how you sort of got yourself, booked on shows. Because obviously, social media wasn't a thing. So I was kind of curious as to how that all worked for guys during that time.
Networking was a big thing back then. Because the territories were almost pretty much completely dead. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there was a little bit. You had Memphis was still a thing. And then GWF, which we'll talk about. It wasn't really, by the time I got there to Dallas, we were just doing TVs, just making TVs, and there were no spot show, no house shows. There was 2 house shows for GWF. Anyways, ask me about that when we get to it. There was, the Observer and the Torch and shit like that, and, word of mouth, tape traders, all kinds of different things, and just like I don't know, for me, I immersed myself in this. This was, I didn't have just in case I don't make it in wrestling, I got this. We just didn't have that, right? Not that it's a bad thing to have that, I just didn't. So I was obsessed with all this, and I lived it and I breathed it, and I learned everything I could about it. Once I got in wrestling, got my foot in the door in the business, not just setting the ring up, but, being more like an actual part of things, like making things happen, like making the flyers, the posters, refereeing. And then, so this lady, Phyllis Lee, she was a huge part of everything. She knew everybody, and, she was the one that I owe so much to. She's the one that talked Malenko into teaching me. I've talked about her before, quite a bit, actually. She helped a lot of people. I remember the Malenko brothers when I was just starting. The great Malenko, he was blackballed. I don't know if you know about, there's some guys with blackball. And so that kind of, there's residual that kind of trickles down to your kids, right?
Right.
But somehow Phyllis Lee got the Malenko brothers booked in All Japan through Lord James Blears. Phyllis, she was from the Ohio, Detroit, that territory, like the Detroit territory, whatever. She ended up actually becoming a kind of a bigger thing in MMA, actually managing fighters, and she actually in the early UFC, she's the one that got Dan Severn and she managed Dan Severn and got him into the UFC. And I'm spending a lot of time on just this part, but I just owe her so much.
Sure.
Anyway, so Phyllis, she helped with all this, and she kept in contact and networked and knew what was going on everywhere. And You know, so that was how I ended up getting trained, and the wrestling shows that I was doing, I was getting experience in Florida, but they were all Malenko shows with his students. So they might be at the VFW hall, or quite often they would sell a show to a fucking used car lot, and we'd be wrestling the fucking used car lot, you know.
Right.
I remember one time the guy brought the ring, and it was his first time with this ring, and anyways, the ring didn't work. And so they put the plywood down on the
on the ground. Oh.
Yeah. And guys are taking bumps on the fucking, on the ground. Anyway, so yeah, those shows, but they weren't really like anything close to like a promotion. You know what I mean? Like a legitimate promotion. And so, anyways, there was this guy, his name was Wellington Wilkins Jr., and he was like a UWF style guy.
Kind of like
he
a
trained with
shooter,
Carl
sort of.
Gotch, and I trained with him, and we trained together. And he was in wrestling before me even. I used to watch him. Like I used to go watch him do jobs at the Sportatorium, get squashed by guys. Anyways, boy, I'm all over the place with this fucking story. So he ends up moving to Minnesota. Ends up there. He was kind of a nomad. He lived in Japan. He's got twin children. He's got a set of twins. As far as like children go in Japan, boy, love you, Willie. His name, we'll call him Willie, but I think he thought it was his duty to bless the world with his seed all over like the place. He has kids here, fucking kids in Japan. Oh shit. Yeah. So, anyways, when Willie went to Minnesota, he was staying with this guy named his name is Marvin Rubin. Marvin Joel Rubin. He was like an insider super fan type guy, like that just he knows a ton. Anyways, I went and lived with him and Willie in a 1-bedroom apartment. Like, yeah, Marvin just, Marvin, yeah, honestly, to be honest with everyone, like Marvin, I feel like I totally took advantage of Marvin. Like, you just take advantage of people, yeah. And then, and if they don't stick up for themselves, you end up just, I feel really shitty about that, actually. I owe Marvin a lot. So I just want to mention him in this. And he's still like on Twitter. I see him all the time. And he came to Chile when I had a match in Chile a few years ago. I get off the plane and there's fucking Marvin. It was great to see him. Some people know, like that are listening to this, will know who I'm talking about. Just this neat guy, really neat guy. But yeah, so that's when I got hooked up with Eddie Sharkey, the infamous Eddie Sharkey, the notorious Eddie Sharkey. And he was the guy. He was responsible for the Road Warriors. All these guys, Jesse Ventura, Bob Backlund. And, he was a colorful character, kind of like, actually, they're pretty famously known as rub and tugs now. Yes?
Right.
You know what that is?
No.
Massage parlors?
No, I don't know what that is. Should I know?
No, you shouldn't.
Okay,
At
then
least
I don't know.
not firsthand.
Because Ty's expression is like gold right now, and I'm like, should I know?
Like rub and tug.
Oh dear Lord! I was just gonna Google it when I got home.
Well,
probably for the best.
Eddie opened the very first one in Minneapolis. It was called the Donnelly. I think it was the Donnelly Spa. It was called.
What a legacy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you could. He always had a trunk full of fucking shit that you don't know where it came from. There was always good deals on things in that trunk.
Sure.
So, I remember he gave me a wedding present one time, and it was like a blanket, like a throw rug, and had the price tag on it, $800. I'm like, yeah, right. I mean, not that it wasn't $800. I'm just sure no one paid for it.
Right, exactly.
So, but Eddie, like that was a promotion, sort of. Like, it was Eddie and this guy named Ray Webby, who's no longer around who was like, he worked with the homeless community, and like, so like he worked at a homeless shelter, and some of the wrestlers would do security at the homeless shelter, and we'd have wrestling matches for home, like Wrestle for Shelter was like the WrestleMania of PWA every year. Yeah, and it was my first time wrestling guys that weren't from Malenko school. So, when you're used to wrestling guys from your school, they all feel the same. And you've been, wrestling, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get in the ring with somebody that wasn't trained by the same guy that trained you, and it's like, this fucking guy sucks. Right. No, he doesn't. He just feels different. He was trained differently. And, so yeah, that was weird. And a lot, and honestly, and Eddie, so there was a lot of great things about Eddie, but his actual training techniques weren't one of them. Like, you didn't really learn a lot, technically. Mm. Yeah, Eddie's guys weren't technically very good. Some of, like, Jerry Lynn and those guys came from Brad Rangan's.
Okay, yeah.
And Brad was
he was a much more technical
silver medalist, a Greco-Roman. Was favored to get the gold in the 1980 Olympics before they were boycotted for the Greco-Roman heavyweight division. Brad Rangan's, all kinds of great guys he's trained. Like, all New Japan used to send all their guys to him. Anyways, like some of the guys came from Brad, and they were a little bit more technically proficient.
Right, totally.
Sean, before you were making a name for yourself, did you have trouble getting booked places based on your size?
Oh, yeah, and the way I looked and how old, like, you're talking about Marco Stunt? Oh, fuck. People laughed at me. When I first show up, and, there was it was a bar in northeast Minneapolis area. It was actually suburb of Fridley, but it was called Ropers, and it was our home base, and it was always packed, and the crowd was lively. They were very appreciative. What was I going with this? Oh yeah. So, but the first time I got in the ring, I wrestled Ricky Rice, and he's built very well. I mean, not huge, but fucking built well. And I was totally pale, skinny as fuck. And so everybody laughed. They were all laughing at me as I come to the ring. And so it took like probably about a minute, and then they were fucking on their feet because I German suplex. I wrestled him, and then I fucking dove out of the ring. No one ever seen any of that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So it didn't take long. They took to me really quick. It was something different. Everyone else was these big jacked up fucking guys, that, and honestly, I'd be honest with you, a lot of them had this sense of entitlement that they were from Minnesota and they were jacked up on the fucking gas and that they were going to get a phone call. Like, they were like, a lot of the guys were fucking scoffing, laughing at me, and fucking the whole time they were waiting for their phone to ring, and they're still fucking waiting for that shit to ring.
Did anybody ever not want to sell for you? Did you ever come across that issue?
Yeah.
What did you do? Did you ever just say, like...
It depends. I remember in a battle royal, this one dipshit, like, I'm not going to name names, but he was like a little bit of an older cat, and I just fucking lit him the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Because he did it to me first. And there were guys, like... So... Not so much in the in the Minnesota stuff, but do you know Derek Dukes is? He was one half of this tag team called the Top Guns. He's a good dude too, but like they want him to just do a job for me. Like, he didn't really know who I was. I mean, a little bit, but like he was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, what he was really trying to do is get a bit of a payoff.
I see.
And he did, and eventually, we had a good match, and everything was fine. But yeah, so a little bit, but usually usually not really. So in Global, in GWF, Skip Young wouldn't do a job for me.
And what did you do?
I just didn't work with her. I worked with somebody else.
Right, yeah.
And he came and he had to talk with me about it, and it's his hometown, and whatever. I get it.
Before we
I don't want to work with you then. Like, honestly, don't. Like, don't work with me. Yeah.
Well, I feel like even now, because we have seen more guys where they don't want to work with somebody, and like even later on, and I feel that from what I've seen, for the most part, it always ends up working against them, because then that person that does work with that person that somebody didn't want to work with them, it ends up paying off well for them.
Sure.
But before we get into GWF, I do want to talk about your match that I came across on YouTube, Lightning Kid versus Jerry Lynn for the lightweight championship in PWA. I don't know what year that was, though. Do you?
It's like 90.
Like 90. Okay.
89, 90.
But
90.
one of the things that I noticed right off the bat with this particular match was that it was all, from the looks of it, you guys had already been feuding for a long time. This was a brawl. This was crazy.
Yeah.
The crowd was really into it. You guys had a lot of moments.
We were fucking around out there, weren't we?
Yes. So you hit him with a ring bout. You did a dive onto the crowd. Jerry Lynn was busted open during this.
Before we get into all that, I just want to talk about the brawl that you guys start with, starting that hot. It's. I feel like sometimes it's rare to see matches start like that hot, just throwing all those punches. We
had a real thing going. We had an angle. And people were into it, and we had local television station that played WCW, and it was a wrestling block, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And in between commercials, we would do live segments with Mick Karch, his name was. And it was called Saturday Night at Ringside, and that's where we would shoot our angles. And I cut Jerry Lynn's hair on TV one time because we were doing a movie.
Okay.
And so then I sold the hair, and everyone laughed. It was like, oh, no one's going to buy the fucking hair. And every fucking bag sold.
How much did they sell for?
It was like $5, but at a piece. But it was we made a couple $100 back then. It was a big deal, Yeah. I'm used to people rolling their eyes, and then after the fact, I'm going to go, oh, fuck, I was wrong.
Right.
Well, you guys did so much in this match. I mean, you were seeing German suplexes, spinning heel kicks, powerbomb reversals, hurricanranas.
That's what I was getting at, is that we had this other matches we started off.
Sure.
Conventional, but yeah.
But keep going.
Well, basically what I want to talk about is the fact that you guys were doing so much stuff that, okay, so for example, when I'm watching this match, take away, let's just say the video quality was what you're seeing today.
It was over time.
If the video quality wasn't what it was in watching this match, it basically holds up with what we're seeing in the ring right now with certain guys that wrestle that style. So that's basically what I was getting into, where you guys were doing all these different moves that people weren't used to seeing, and the fans were popping for each and every single one of them. So you guys were making the rounds, you and Jerry Lynn. How did working with Jerry Lynn benefit you?
He was the perfect opponent. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now, fucking for real. If it wasn't for him. So, yeah, I can't. It's all understated. No matter how hard I try to, fucking explain how important he was to everything for me, it all seems like an understatement.
Mm-hmm.
And this stuff that you were doing, you weren't really seen in the U.S. during this time. No. So what were you watching? What were your influences, considering that obviously it wasn't where you could just go on YouTube and find something? You were doing tapes and
I was a big-time Japanese tape guy,
Sure.
Oh, fuck. And, we get these tapes, and just kind of like you're saying, the video quality of that one match you're talking about. Am I wearing the red?
Yeah, I believe so,
exactly.
Yeah. That was before I cut Jerry's hair, because the second match, he broke his ankle in the match, and we went forever. Anyways, whatever. It's unimportant. I mean, not that it was broken ankle,
right? But this match, he still had the big big mane.
Yeah. Where was I?
So we were talking about your influences and you being tape trading into Japan.
Yeah. So and my training. I was trained how to wrestle and. Trained to go wrestle in Japan. Mm-hmm. So So some of it was trained to do it. You know?
Yeah.
And then the other stuff, I saw it and I just tried to duplicate what I saw, and some of it wasn't right.
Sure.
You know, I was doing some things wrong until I got to work with some of the guys like in not Mexico, like some of the great luchadors that I wrestled with in Japan.
Well, like, yeah,
they showed me that I was doing certain things wrong.
Yeah, like, well, when you did like Top of the Super Juniors in '93, you know, you've got Eddie as Black Tiger in that tournament, things like that.
Yeah, he taught me how to for like a spinning backbreaker that people do a lot. Yeah, I was feeding it wrong.
Oh, right.
So, anyways.
Had you already seen the Tiger Mask 1 Dynamite Kid match at this point? Like, you had already seen it?
Long time prior to that. Yeah.
So, you know, obviously, you know, we were talking earlier about your size. So, was it important for you to bring a different style into your in-ring skill set, you know, given the fact that you maybe had these different challenges that other guys didn't have? Was that automatically something you wanted to do? Like, be unique inside the ring so that you can stand out and be different?
Yes. And what was really important to me was to bring an extra amount of believability to the shit I did. Compared to like all these big goofs that like were going out there. I mean, and not that their stuff looked really bad, but my shit looked better. I wanted you to go, okay, this guy's a skinny dude, like, but like he's a fucking buzzsaw. And I was, and I had like, at that when I was younger, like when I was in those days, like I had a chip on my shoulder. I was in fights a lot, you know, like. Yeah, no, I really I really wanted fucking everyone to know I was a badass.
You wanted to bring the edge out of you. You had people see it. Like, even though you had this very young, look, you can sort of kind of grasp it. Maybe underneath that there was a little bit something more.
Oh yeah.
Were there not many other guys with backgrounds in martial arts at the time, or?
There were a couple here and there, but they didn't know how to fucking apply it into wrestling.
Sure.
There's been martial artists, you know, in another wrestling for years. They just didn't fucking, you know, I figured out how to do it right and like incorporate that.
How to kind of straddle that line between the two. Yeah.
Yeah. And how to like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, not kill a guy, but
lay it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find that sweet spot where you're not, you know, where guys will still want to work with you.
Right.
Yeah, that's me and Jerry with the GWF title.
God, that's awesome.
And this guy in the middle, his name's Bruce Kreitzman. He was a referee / photographer. And so they brought him to Japan with us.
That's awesome.
So now, how long did you work with PWA until you started working
okay.
with GWF?
One more thing about Bruce Kreitzman. He's the cousin of Gary Juster. I don't know if you know who Gary Juster is, but he's like an old NWA promoter. And I think he actually does stuff with ROH now. Promotes towns for them. So yeah.
That's awesome.
So a lot of people that are listening to this or watching will know who Gary Juster is. Look how fucking pale I am right there. Fucking put me on the beach and a fucking buzzard would start circling.
I was gonna say, yeah, and just oh my God, Jerry Lynn, just the fucking brick shit.
Yeah, Jerry was, you know, very strong, fucking strong.
How old was he around there? Because he was maybe
He's not a young guy.
A little older? No.
No, like late 20s.
Late 20s.
Yeah,
Okay.
27ish maybe right by that time.
So then, you know, having those
25,
matches
26,
with
27.
you were also beneficial for him, obviously.
Yeah.
To be able to go with someone like that.
Yep.
Okay, so then we were talking about how long did it take for you to get to GWF after with PWA? When did that transition happen?
Well, I'm trying to remember because there was first like Eddie Gilbert I think might have been booking Memphis, and I think so there was talk about us going down there. Jerry ended up going, I didn't. And I ended up getting like kind of married, like not married, but you know, so like getting in a relationship and have, you know, well, actually she wasn't pregnant yet. But anyways, so yeah, I didn't go. It was like a year It was about a year of doing stuff up in the Midwest up there, and then, you know, that stuff with GWF came about, and Wade Keller kind of...
initiated that for you?
Well, I mean, he was just kind of in... he talked to everybody. You know, if somebody was doing something, like starting something, like he was in contact with them, and so, you know, a lot of that, I'm not sure 100%, but, you know, a lot of my word of mouth would come from him.
Right.
You know, like, huge part. That's another component that I have to give credit to. It was my exposure and the torch, because Wade was, you know, he's a Minnesota guy.
Right.
So, yeah, it was. I mean, that was a huge part of everything. You know, because I mean, there might have been some guys in other places just as talented. You know, didn't have Wade Keller coming to his matches every month, right?
Right.
So, you know.
So obviously GWF, they had their TV deal with ESPN. Was that the first time you ever wrestled a TV style, and how different was it for you during that time, you know, doing your local indies and then being on TV?
I didn't wrestle any different on TV than I did in my matches.
So you didn't feel like you had to do any sort of shift or anything like that?
Nope, I didn't have any producers. I didn't have anyone giving me time cues. We just went on and did it, and then they just fucking chopped it up and fucking, edited it, put it all together. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, not like now. Now a TV match is way different.
Right.
You know, you learn how to do different kinds of matches.
Well, one of the things that I also want to say is that your matches, was all action, no rest holds. So given, you know, that time, were veterans telling you, hey, man, slow down? Did you get that from them?
Yeah. Yep. And in some instances, they were 100% correct, looking back. You know, because you're chasing a reaction with the moves. And it's a legitimate reaction, but it's like, you know, when you take your time and you build, and, you know, there's different kinds of reactions is what I guess I'm trying to say. And, you know, before they get emotionally invested in you and you have, you know, emotional equity with them, you know, the only thing is the moves for them to react to, you know. Until they care about you, and then like all the in-between stuff, and like, you know, when you sell, and you know, your facial expressions and all that, like, add a lot to it. But for lack of that, like, you're chasing the fucking reaction from move to move. So, you know, but I never used rest hold. Like, I was always working it. You know, like, I like the term rest hold. Like it's to transition from one thing to another. And,
right.
You know, obviously sometimes you do need a breather in there, but like, you still got to be working. It's like somebody goes like I'm really going off into the weeds on this.
But, that's good.
You know, when people talk about sell it, like, oh, you know, stop me so I can rest. Fuck that. Like, honestly, I'm working harder in the cell than I am when I'm like, I can rest more if I'm the heel and I'm like on top and getting the heat than I am if I'm selling. Because that's all. Like, if you're selling right, that's a lot of fucking
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah, getting your ass beat is exhausting.
Fuck.
What was it like working at the Dallas Sportatorium? Because one of the things I noticed was that there was a nice crowd there. I don't know how many, but how was that like?
It was really... you know, because I grew up watching, and when I say grew up, it was like only like 6 years earlier or something, right? I was so excited. I was so fucking excited to be, you know, even stepping foot in the Sportatorium, let alone wrestling it, you know? And I wasn't too shocked when I saw the condition in which the building was in, you know, because the Tampa Sportatorium was even worse. So, you know, I was already.
What was wrong with it?
It was just old. It was fucking old. And the ring was like cemented into the ground. Like the posts were cemented in the ground. It was really hard. Like, if you go back and watch that ring, I mean, it was fucking really hard. It was extremely hot in there as well. Like, really fucking hot. Yeah.
Man. Well, and then
because I mean, when I won, like that was in the middle of the summer, like July.
Oh fuck.
When I won the title, because like I celebrated my birthday like the next day or something. And we all went to Hooters and.
So you have that. You're in there. You're working. You have the crowd. It's already hot in general.
Yeah.
All the work's in there.
Yeah, and I always. I believe in emptying the tank no matter how long your match is. Like, always, like, fucking empty it. So, like, no matter what, if I was in a 5-minute match or a 20-minute match, even in the 5-minute, I come back,
right,
fucking spent. That's how I believe in doing it.
Sure.
You know? So, yeah.
What about the lightning bolt at the side of your head?
Oh, fuck.
Where did that idea come from?
Not me.
Really?
It was fucking Burt Prentice. You know who fucking Burt Prentice is? Yes, it was Burt Prentice. Fuck.
So you didn't like it?
No. But, you know, you do things like, I mean, he was sort of like, he sort of had a say-so in things. Which not for long because like he did some fucked up shit that I'm not going to get into, but he was gone. He made some inappropriate comments to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no fan of the lightning bolt.
No.
I actually thought, I was like, oh, he thought of something different, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, Bert. He used to also go as Christopher Love. You never heard of him?
I don't know that much about him.
Oh, okay. He's actually like a good, like kind of talented guy and quite the hustler. Like, and there's a lot of stories about that guy. Okay, yeah, enough about that. Enough about the lightning bolts in the side of the head.
All right. So also in GWF, you worked again with Jerry Lynn. Now, obviously, you guys are working. You know, you've worked together already in the past. You know him. You guys know each other. But now you're wrestling on a bigger scale, a bigger platform. So what was the differences between that and, you know, already going into that, knowing each other so well?
It was just, I don't know. Like, it wasn't like, okay, I was in this territory and we were there every day. It was like, I went there like 3 times ever. It might not seem like that because, you know, we taped fucking 5 days worth of TV in one day. So it might seem like, okay, yeah, he was there forever. Like, no, I was there like 2 or 3 times, like 3 times total.
Right.
Like, they flew me in 3 times. So, but, you know, and I had 2 matches with Jerry there. The first one, I beat him in the finals of the tournament. And the second one was when I lost the title to him. And it was in a 2 out of 3 falls.
December 91.
Yeah. And like this ridiculous fucking stipulation that we had to beat each other. We could only use our finish.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It was
It was so
interesting.
fucking stupid.
I was wondering why. What led
I
to
don't
that
know.
prior?
It's fucking people that have never been in matches before fucking coming up with stipulations.
Right.
Like, how fucking stupid. Like, how are you supposed to have near falls?
Right.
When you can only use, like, he can only use the sleeper and I can only use a tombstone pile driver. What the fuck?
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, well, what
And we
led
still
to that?
managed. I mean, we had 2, it was like an hour match.
Oh, wow.
They chopped a lot of that up. I did an acai moonsault, like, and they had these fucking, how stupid is this? The barricades around the ring were made of wood. They were like wooden banisters, like, you know, like if you were going up the stairs at your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, stay away from the banisters. So I just completely fucking destroyed them.
I want to
Who
circle back
does that?
Right, exactly.
You mentioned the tournament, 24-man tournament, but some of those names that were in there, Buff Bagwell, who was known as Handsome Stranger, Rip Rogers,
Yes.
Chaz Headbanger.
No, that's not. His name is Chaz Taylor.
Oh, okay. Well, so basically what I wanted to know with that was, you know, you how did it feel knowing that, you know, you were wrestling with these guys that would end up becoming stars, like kind of like looking back at that now?
Yeah, and Scott Raven, you know, is Scotty Flamingo.
Right.
And so I knew Scotty before I was even a wrestler. So it was cool to see him there. Everyone was really cool to me, especially like, I don't know. Where were you? What was your question?
So basically, how did it feel?
I'm like waxing nostalgic right now.
Going
and I'm
back,
fucking getting in my own head.
Going back and seeing some of the names that were on there, and knowing that they eventually became stars. Like, how did that feel? Like knowing that you guys were, you know, back then you were doing your thing, you know, that sort of thing. The evolution of all of that.
Yeah, no, I mean it was cool. Obviously, the obvious ones are Bagwell and you know, Raven and who else? Because Chaz never really did a whole lot.
Right.
You know, Jerry obviously went on and did ROH and ECW. Jerry Lynn. And then other guys, they weren't there at the same time as me. JBL, who came through Brad Rangan School, and I actually went and used to train with him when he was learning to wrestle. Like JBL came in to Global after I was already gone. Booker T and Stevie Ray, you know, certain other guys. So yeah. But it was a great place, you know. I mean, it gave us all this huge stage. Like, so every day after school, kids could come home and turn on fucking GWF and watch me wrestle.
Right.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So after your series of matches with Jerry Lynn, had you
I
ever
like
been...
working with Chaz too. I had good chemistry with him. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think
He's
it was
pretty good.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was kind of going back to my notes, but after these series of matches that you had with Jerry Lynn, were you already being noticed by WWF or WCW?
Maybe, but you know, in my mind, I didn't picture myself in WWE.
Why was that?
They didn't have junior heavyweights there, like
right.
heavyweights. More so, like, you know, WCW, and then. So, should we talk about that? My WCW tryout real quick?
Well, yeah, because that was actually going to be my next question, was the fact that they started their own light heavyweight division with Brian Pillman as one of the you know, the main star and Jushin Thunder Liger. So I wanted to know if that was kind of basically you were ever considered for that. So I guess you can kind of dive into that then.
Well, so Turner hires this guy. His name was Kip Fry to run WCW. And Kip Fry brought me in. And I was pretty sure, like, okay, I went down there. They actually gave me a choice of my fucking, you know, opponent. Mm-hmm. I picked Bob Cook, who was, like, he was a Malenko guy, one of the best, like, of people like most people have never heard of. He's one of the best fucking guys you go back and watch some of his matches. Mm. He's got one of the best punches of all time. Yeah, there's Kip Fry. Really nice guy. So I have my match. They tell me, yeah, do all your shit. Like, just get all your shit in. So I didn't really try to put as, you know, my match was just get my shit in.
Right.
Like, if you go back, there was not a lot of psychology to it. It got a great reaction from the people at center stage. Bob gave me a great match. Caught me fucking perfectly. Like, I think I might have did 2 different dives. I think I did every fucking thing I could do.
Right.
Almost everything. And so I was like, I had my hopes up. I was like, okay, Kip Fry, he's the boss, and it was his idea to bring me in. Like 2 days later, fucking Kip got fired. Yeah. And Bill Watts, they brought Bill Watts in. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't Bill Watts' idea, and and I talked to him on the phone, he called me, him and Ole. Because they saw my training, and Bill likes guys with, legitimate, training and legitimate background. Not that I had a legitimate sports background, but I was trained properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure he looked at my fucking tape, and what I did in that tryout match is not something, like, he fucking banned the top rope, remember? I don't know if you remember that.
I hadn't heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, like, when he came in, he banned guys from coming up the top. You would have thought it was the end of the world. The fans, everything. Like, holy shit. Looking back at it, like, not that big a deal. Like, guys would have to do it behind the ref's back, shit like that.
Sure.
But, so anyways, at that particular moment, I just wasn't, like, wasn't Bill's cup of tea, probably. I'm making assumptions here based on him watching that tryout match.
Right.
Now, later on, when Bill came into WWF, he loved me there because when they hired him, we had a house show at Madison Square Garden. He came to the show, didn't tell anyone he was coming. He went and sat in the crowd and he watched all the matches. And I don't know if I was in the opening match, but like one of the opening matches, and it was myself and Hunter. And it was Hunter's very first match ever in the Garden. And we'd had a few prior to that. And anyways, fucking Watts really liked me, and he figured me into shit like after that. Like, anyway, yeah, he was a fan of what he saw there. Probably not what he saw in my tryout match.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to say. Took me a while to get to the point, but I managed.
All right. So basically, obviously during this time. Oh wait, actually going back to that, do you know if WCW was inspired by GWF to start the light heavyweight division? No. Okay, I was just wondering since it was like somewhat close at that time.
So, but like the GWF kind of like, so when I dropped the title to Jerry, it was because they couldn't afford to bring me in anymore, and they had signed me to a contract, and the contract had a guarantee of $300 a week, and that was also what my payoff was when they would fly me in. They would pay me $300. So even if I didn't go in for the week, I would get my $300.
How was that? Like, was that a lot or a little bit of money during that time?
It was better than nothing. I mean, I could, it helped me pay some bills a little bit. And, yeah. Fucking, what else was I going to say about that? But that was the reason why and also, Bill Eadie, do you know who Bill Eadie was? Demolition Axe.
Yeah.
He was also the Masked Superstar. He was the booker from the get-go. And then somehow Eddie Gilbert managed to get in there and get that spot. And then Bill was gone. And Eddie was cool. Really neat to be around Eddie. I wasn't around him a lot, but, a couple times. And that was cool because, Eddie Gilbert, he was great.
Right.
He was really creative, a reputation for being extremely creative, and he was great in the ring. But they couldn't afford me anymore. Yeah. And so that's when I got hooked up with Universal in Japan. And actually, see, they couldn't afford me, but I hadn't dropped the title yet because my first tour in Japan, I had the belt. And then when we went again, Jerry and I would team in Japan. We would team. Jerry came back. I'm conflating a bunch of shit here. But anyways, after my WCW tryout, and then they didn't hire me, it was kind of a little bit, the wind was out of my sails a little bit. And so, I was just trying to plug away. I was going and getting, booked out on the East Coast, like with promoter Dennis Carluzzo and like the John Arezzi convention, the Weekend of Champions it was called. And we had John on, you remember?
Yep.
So that was just getting my name, getting my name out there and letting people see, Lightning Kid is on the East Coast. He's over here in fucking, Wisconsin and Minnesota and, and then Japan. And so, yeah, it's cool. And then weirdly, so about the NWA show that I promoted with Dennis Carluzzo in Minnesota, where I wrestled Sabu? Did that not come up on your Google search?
No, but you can tell me more about that.
Yeah. So when I got hooked up with Dennis Carluzzo, he was NWA promoter. And NWA isn't like it is now.
Right.
It was just guys that were just trying to keep it alive. And just to be honest with you, it was kind of sad, But I give them credit. They loved it so much, they wanted to keep it alive. So we had this show, and I thought it was kind of cool to be able to use NWA name, and so we promoted the show, called it NWA Grand Slam. Had Hawk, wrestled Hot Road Warrior Hawk, wrestled Terry Funk in the main event. Masa Saito, and this guy Charlie Norris, who worked in WCW, versus Nails.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Nails, and he had the orange jumpsuit.
Jumpsuit and everything.
And a guy named The Hater, who came from Brad Rangan's camp, and he was actually the best man at my wedding. His name was Jamie Mangan.
Huh.
Funny enough, the name The Hater, that was Hawk's nickname in high school.
Really?
Yeah. Weirdly enough. So anyway, there's that. There's myself and Sabu, Jerry Lynn versus Chris Candido, Taz versus Brad Rangans, fucking Lethal Larry Cameron versus Tommy Ferrara. Fuck else am I missing here? Anyways, it was quite the loaded independent show.
Sure.
At the time, there were very few shows that stacked independent-wise. So, and I worked really hard on that. I was I was like the person that did all the work on that. And yeah, I don't know where all the money went. Because there was a lot of people there.
Right.
So yeah, I was pretty proud of that. But before that, so when boy, I'm all over the fucking place. But all this is relevant. When Hawk quit WWE, and do you know about his tag team, the Hellraisers, with Kensuke Sasaki? Do you remember who Kensuke Sasaki is?
Yeah.
Well, they were called the Hellraisers in New Japan, and they were over huge, fucking big. They came out to, Ozzy's song Hellraiser.
Sure.
And so they debuted the Hellraisers tag team in that little fucking bar I was telling you about in Fridley, Minnesota, where we had our shows.
Ropers?
Yeah. In this little fucking shitty 14x14 ring. And it was it was. So, but Masa Saito was coming into town for it, and Brad Rangans was showing, and so they were gonna have matches, and so I was matchmaker, and I booked Jerry Lynn and I were the PWA tag team champions by this point.
Okay.
Yeah, he was done with GWF by this point as well, and we had these shitty belts made from weightlifting belts with from a trophy shop. Like nowadays, you can get a decent belt made.
Yeah.
Right? Back then it was brutal. So I booked us versus Brad Rangans and Masa Saito. And we had a really good match. And fucking Masa I got started fired up on Masa, lighting him up. And then I was like, reverse it clothesline. And fuck, man.
Just took your head off with it.
Oh, shit. I asked for it. Anyway, so Masa brought me to New Japan Super Junior tournament after
nice.
that. And then as I'm getting ready to go for that, I get called to go have my WWF tryout. And so all that happened at once.
Oh, wow.
After I was kind of you know, you kind of think it's a lesson in that you got to stay the course. Mm-hmm. You know, you could go, oh, WCW, that was my only shot, like that. You know, like, and like some people could get, you know, they could let that fucking get to them. Maybe some people might even say fuck it and throw in the towel. But you can't do it because, like, as soon as you think you've hit the end of the road, like, all of a sudden, boom, there's your fucking opportunity.
Right.
You know, I mean, in life, not just wrestling. I mean, just, haven't you ever been there where just everything sucks and it's like, you just think you can't, like, and then boom, something great happens.
Phil, that's me every other month.
Right?
Happens a lot.
Oh, this month is horrible. Oh, something good happened. Yay.
Yeah, so I had a lot of decisions to make. Like, you know, go to New Japan and, like, maybe go train at the dojo or go to WWF.
Sure.
So,
and obviously we can get into your stuff obviously we can get into your work in Japan and Mexico in separate episodes where we can actually dive in depth and talk about all this stuff for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a good point to
cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty much that.
Wow.
Nice.
Right on time, too.
Awesome.
We got a minute and 32 seconds
That's
left.
great stuff, yeah.
So, all right, well.
All right, guys, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/X-Pac. Make sure to check us out on social media, X-Pac12360 Show, for exclusive clips and all of the random stuff that we post on there. For myself, do not forget to check me out on youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. I have tons of interviews and cool stuff up there, and I'll be working on some more videos. And then Instagram and Twitter @_Denise Salcedo.
There you go. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram @TyMatthewsPMA.
All right, at the Real X-Pac, @RealXpac on Instagram.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Sean Waltman, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, thank you for tuning in to X-Pac 12360.